Welcome, night owls. You're tuned in to Midnight FM. Tonight, I want to tell you a story that doesn't come from small towns or haunted forests. It comes from somewhere much quieter, a laboratory. It's a story that never made the news, one buried in classified files, whispered about in online forums and government archives. They called it the sleep experiment. They say it started in 1954, at the height of the Cold War. A secret American study meant to test human endurance under extreme conditions. The goal? To create soldiers who could stay awake for 15 days straight without losing focus. The experiment was simple, at least that's how they described it on paper. 5 volunteers, a sealed underground facility, and a gas compound known only as Compound E17. The scientists promised no harm, just sleep resistance testing. But as the weeks passed, the reports that surfaced, the few that still exist, told a different story. One of those reports was found years later by a janitor cleaning out an old storage room in Fort Hamilton, New York. It was a single folder, stamped top secret, edges burned like someone had tried to destroy it. Inside were 13 pages, most blacked out. But the surviving lines painted a nightmare that no one could fake. It began with Day 1. Subjects introduced to chamber at 21:45. Gas flow initiated. All subjects responsive, no anomalies. Then Day 4. Subjects show increased alertness, increased heart rate, continuous talking and movement, no sleep recorded. By Day 7, things began to unravel. Subjects exhibit paranoia, whispering among themselves, requesting gas be turned off, refused. According to the notes, by the 10th day, one of the scientists reported hearing screams from inside the sealed chamber, not from one man, but all 5 in unison. No one dared open the door. Another entry, dated Day 12, said, "Audio feed removed from observation room. Personnel unable to tolerate prolonged exposure to sounds." The next line wasn't typed. It was handwritten, shaky, across the margin. "They're not screaming anymore. They're talking to someone else."
That's where the official report ends. But that's not where the story stops. A retired technician named Robert Lang, one of the men assigned to monitor electrical systems at Fort Hamilton, gave an interview in 1982. He said the experiment never ended, that the subjects were moved, not released, not buried, moved. And somewhere deep below a decommissioned airfield in Maryland, the gas still flows through a single pressurized chamber. Lang claimed he could still hear them over the intercom when he did maintenance checks. Soft, rhythmic breathing through static. Always awake, never sleeping. He died a year later. No cause listed, just a single word on his autopsy report. systemic failure. Now I know what you're thinking. Maybe this is just one of those internet horror stories. Maybe it's fiction that's taken on a life of its own. But here's the thing, night owls. 2 months ago, someone sent me an email. No name, no address. Just a voice recording attached, labeled E17active.mp3. I'll play a few seconds for you later tonight. But first, you should know where that sound came from, because the coordinates embedded in the audio file pointed directly to an abandoned military bunker outside Maryland. And last weekend, I went there. The bunker was located 2 miles beyond the chain-link fence that hadn't been touched in decades. Rust clung to every bolt. The no trespassing sign had faded to a ghost of itself. It was late, around 2:30 a.m. when I got there. A full moon was hanging low, brushing silver over the trees. My recorder was running. Not because I expected to find anything, but because that's what I do. I document, even when I shouldn't. The air was heavy, the kind of silence that presses on your skin. When I stepped inside the first corridor, I could smell it, a damp chemical rot mixed with something metallic. The walls were concrete, cold to the touch. And down the hall, a single red light blinked every few seconds. Emergency power, still running after 50 years. I followed it. The deeper I went, the louder the hum grew, a low electrical vibration in the floor. Old wires still alive. Then I reached a door marked Chamber 4. Paint peeled, hinges rusted, but the warning sign was still legible. Caution, E17 pressurized area. Do not enter without clearance. I didn't need clearance. I just needed a story.
The door resisted, groaning when I forced it open. Cold air spilled out, so cold it fogged my breath immediately. Inside, the lights were dim, flickering from a few remaining bulbs. A control panel sat against the far wall, gauges cracked, switches frozen mid-position. And then I saw it. A glass chamber about the size of a small room, sealed by thick steel clamps. Inside was nothing but fog, a mist swirling in slow motion as if something inside was breathing it. I lifted my flashlight. The beam cut through the haze, and for just a second, I thought I saw movement, a hand pressed against the glass from the inside. I stepped back. The sound that followed wasn't the creak of the door or the hum of the vents. It was a whisper, soft, wet, like air moving through teeth. Stay awake. I froze. The words echoed, faint but distinct. Recorded, maybe. I tried to convince myself it was just the playback system reactivating after years of silence. I turned to the console, brushed off the dust, and noticed one switch still lit, a tiny orange glow next to oxygen flow. It wasn't dead. Some part of the system was still alive. And then I heard something new. Static. Faint, rhythmic static, like breathing, coming from the headset hanging on the panel. I put it on. At first, it was nothing but a low hiss, then a pulse, like a heartbeat filtered through distortion. And behind it, voices, layered, overlapping, whispering in tones that barely resembled language. One of them was counting, slowly, deliberately. 13, 14, 15. Then silence. A sudden click broke through the quiet, followed by a woman's voice, calm, precise, recorded decades ago. Subject 4, requesting termination of test. Request denied. Maintain wakefulness. The tape looped again, and each time the voice grew distorted, bending, breaking, until it sounded almost human again, pleading, crying, request denied, maintain. The lights in the chamber began to flicker, and through the fog, I saw shapes, faint outlines moving just beneath the surface, as if pacing. The hum in the floor shifted tone, deeper now, almost organic. And then my recorder, the one I brought with me, began playing by itself. It was looping my own voice from earlier that night, repeating the words I said when I first entered. It's 2:30 a.m. I'm inside the bunker now. Only, it didn't stop there. It's 2:30 a.m. I'm inside the bunker now. And there, awake. I hadn't said that last part. That's when the chamber door clicked. Not the outer one, the inner hatch. The seal released with a sharp hiss. Cold vapor rushed out, and through it a figure stepped forward. I dropped the recorder. The static roared so loud it shook the metal walls. The figure's skin was pale, colorless, like wax stretched over bone. Its eyes wide open, unblinking. And when it spoke, it used my voice. Stay awake, RJ. I ran. I didn't think, just ran. The flashlight swung wildly in my hand, its beam slicing through the fog as the temperature dropped around me. The corridor outside was colder now. Frost crept along the walls like veins, shimmering faintly in the red emergency light. Behind me, I could still hear that voice, my voice, repeating, "Stay awake, RJ. Stay awake." It echoed off the concrete, overlapping, chasing itself like a broken transmission. I reached the stairwell and bolted upward, 2 steps at a time. Every light I passed flickered as if something was following just out of sight. When I looked back, the hallway behind me was empty, but the shadows weren't still. I reached the exit and shoved the door open. The night air hit me like ice. Outside, the moon was gone, swallowed by cloud, and in the distance, through the trees, I could see faint blue light pulsing from beneath the earth, the same rhythm as the heartbeat I heard through the headset. 13, 14, 15. I didn't stop until I was back at my car. I slammed the door, started the engine, and peeled out onto the old highway. The radio, my car's radio, crackled to life on its own. Not music, not static. Voices. The same whispers from the bunker, faint but clear, layered on one another like breathing. I turned the dial, every frequency jumping, overlapping, until I reached 88.1 FM. My station, Midnight FM.
For a moment, I thought I was losing it, but the on-air light at the studio was off. The transmitter should have been dead. Still, the signal was broadcasting, faint but constant. And then, through the static, I heard my own show playing. Not a rerun, not an old episode. Tonight's recording. My voice from inside the bunker. The sound of the chamber opening. The whisper, "Stay awake." And then, something new. We are awake now. I stopped the car. The radio went silent, and then my phone buzzed. A new email notification. No sender, no subject, just an audio attachment. It was named 18_broadcast.mp3. I played it. It began with silence, then a low hum, then breathing. But it wasn't mine. It was faster, shallow, panic breathing. And then a voice. "This is not a test. E17 is active. All subjects must remain awake." The last line wasn't a recording. It came through my speakers in real time, and it said my name. RJ Jacob, remain awake. I dropped the phone. Static filled the car, growing louder and sharper until it became a single tone, a piercing frequency that made my teeth ache. Then, everything went dark. When I woke, I was parked in front of the studio. The clock on the dashboard read 4:03 a.m. The engine was off, the key still in my hand, and my recorder, the one I dropped in the bunker, was sitting on the passenger seat, still running. The red light blinked steadily, like a heartbeat, and when I pressed play, I didn't hear footsteps. I didn't hear whispers. I heard breathing. 5 people, in sync, awake. And at the very end, just before the tape cut to silence, a voice whispered close to the microphone, calm, human, familiar. Broadcast complete. Then, a second voice, identical to mine, added, "Stay awake, night owls." It's been 3 nights since that drive. 3 nights, and I haven't slept. I've tried. God knows I've tried. Every time I close my eyes, I hear it, the hum, the static. And that voice, counting, always counting.
13, 14, 15. I stopped fighting it. Instead, I decided to bring it here, to all of you. So tonight, Night Owls, you're not just listening to another story. You're helping me finish it. On the desk in front of me is the recorder I found in my car, the same one from the bunker. Still working, still blinking. I'm going to play the audio now, and I want you to listen closely, not to the words, but to what's behind them, because whatever this thing is, it isn't done talking. Click. A low hum fills the studio. It's deep, rhythmic, almost soothing at first. Then it shifts, becomes uneven, distorted. Through it, faint breathing emerges. 5 voices inhaling and exhaling together, perfectly synchronized. Then whispering. Not in English, not in any language I know, but it sounds deliberate, almost ritualistic. The sound builds, static rising like a storm, overlapping frequencies folding into one another until it's not 5 voices anymore. It's hundreds of people whispering the same words. Stay awake, stay awake. The lights in the studio flicker. My mic cuts out for a second. I can hear the hum bleeding into my monitors, distorting the signal. I try to stop the recorder. It won't respond. The buttons are dead. And then the studio's red on-air light flares bright, even though the board isn't live. The broadcast system, it's transmitting by itself. On the console screen, the waveform begins to move. The recorder isn't playing anymore. It's recording. It's feeding directly into the transmitter. And in that moment, I realize it's not sending out the sound. It's receiving. The speakers pop once sharply, and then I hear them, the 5 voices, not through my recorder, through the mic, through me. Subject awake. Transmission stable. Continue experiment. I try to speak, but the words don't feel like mine anymore. Each sentence leaves my mouth an instant too late, overlapping with a faint echo, like someone's repeating me half a breath behind. And then I hear it, through the headphones, through the walls, through the static bleeding into the system, thousands of signals lighting up, other radios, other frequencies, all of them tuned to Midnight FM, all of them broadcasting the same hum, all of them awake. The studio lights die out one by one until only the on-air sign remains. Its red glow fills the room, and in that glow, I see movement through the glass. Silhouettes forming where no one's standing. 5 shapes, still watching. The hum deepens, the air grows heavy, and then the voices speak again, perfectly clear now inside my head. You are one of us now. No more dreams, no more sleep. I take a breath, and for the first time in my life, I can't tell if I'm still broadcasting or if I'm just one of them now. So if you're hearing this, If the signal's reaching you, do me one favor, night owls. Turn off your radio. Turn it off now, because once you've heard the hum, you won't sleep again.